Alright, so here's what we're working on. Went ahead and I pulled that intake tube off to get to my hose clamp. But I pulled that lower thermostat housing I showed y'all in the last video where it was leaking. So I cleaned up all the silicone off of it. And that was a chore getting it off of that O-ring. But I don't like using a bunch of silicone, but since that thing's got some pitting in it, I went ahead and gobbed it up, made sure not to get any blocking the thermostat or where it would get into the thermostat or that little bleed hole, and bolted it back up. And so we're going to let that cure before we put water back in it. Like I said, I'm putting water in it for now, check for leaks, and I'll drain it and put antifreeze in it. So while I'm waiting on that, I started back on the glow plugs, and I've unplugged the wires. So to check the glow plugs, you check the ohm resistance in them, and I think most people normally undo the wire. But I think if you just unplug it from the controller, this big plug, it's got 5 lugs on it, is the one that goes to the glow plugs. And so with that unplugged, there should be nothing with that wire. So you just check from the terminal on the glow plug to ground, and I checked it. I've got 2 that are open circuit, basically, that are bad. The last one, and I think this one, so number 3, I think, and 5, 3 and 5, I think. I'll have to test them again. And then I remembered in the car when I was looking around and kind of digging through, I found this one in the back seat, and it tests good. The same, I think I got like 1.2 ohms, which is, these were testing like 1.2 or 1.3, pretty much all. And then this one, I'm guessing it just ohms to infinity because it just blanks out on the screen. Or this one was actually good. This one tested 1.2 or 1.3. And then this one tested like 30 something ohms, so this one may be bad. All these were under these 2 were under the seat. This one was just in the back seat, or in the floorboard of the back seat, and this was under the driver's seat. So it looks like somebody had went probably to a junkyard and picked up some glow plugs. But these 2 test good, and so yes, I know proper way. I should probably replace all the glow plugs, but right now we're still kind of in the let's get this thing running good. We're not going to spend much money on it and get it, because we still haven't really, we've road driven it a little bit, but not a whole lot, so I don't want to sink a ton of money into it. If I actually had to go buy glow plugs, I would buy a full set and put them all in there. But since these came with the car, and we've got 2 bad ones, and we've got 2 good ones right here, we're going to go ahead and put these in there. One of them is a Bosch, and the other one is a Baru. And then this one that tested bad was a Bosch. So we're going to put these in there and replace those 2 bad ones, and we're going to put the glow plug controller that we repaired in it, and we'll see how this thing starts. Now, I need to address this battery. I have a battery desulfator, so I'm probably going to put that on there, but I probably will do it like run the weekends. I'm going to be doing work on the car, so I'll probably maybe Sunday or something when I get finished, if I work on it on Sunday or whatever. Last time I work on it, I'll pull the battery terminal off, put that desulfator on it, and let it run a few days next week while I'm not doing anything to the car. And I'll pull the battery terminal off. I don't want to do the desulfator with the terminals connected. So we'll put that on there next week, see if we can reclaim that battery. I also should probably check, I don't know if I can pull these caps off on this one. If I can, I will, and check the water level in it. This is one of those ones that's got that glowing green deal, whatever, and I can't tell. It's probably no good, but we'll see. So let's work on these glow plugs a little bit. We're going to replace those, and of course I got to let that set up. So we'll probably do a few other things before we can actually start it up because I don't want to put water in it. And we'll put the original glow plug controller that replaced the capacitors back in it. It's kind of hard to get in there and show you all over there. I will do what I can, but just to confirm my results in an easier place to get to. Now, you wouldn't want to make this your main test just because you could have a broken wire or something. Plus, I don't know if these are labeled. It looks like they're labeled, but I think if I remember right, the labels on these wires, I think I remember reading that they're not correct on the cylinder. So like, even though it says 1 on this plug, I don't think that's number 1 cylinder. I think I remember these being off, but I think you can look up and see which ones they are. But just to kind of show y'all, because it's easier for me to do it over here and show y'all, I confirmed my results by using that. So let's get a good ground here. Somewhere. Let's see. We'll double check our ground. So let's, we're not grounding. Let's see, let's try somewhere else. Still not ground. I'm trying to get somewhere where I don't have to hold the test lead. Or I can pin it somewhere. I don't need an alligator clip. Let's see. Let's try. Well, I'm just going to hold it and get a good ground. So we'll test this first one. You can see we're getting 1.2, 1.0. I was getting right on the thing about 1.2. We go down to this next one, we got nothing. Got a good ground. Go down to this next one, nothing. Go over here to this one. We got about the same, right in the 1.4, 1.3, and onto this one, around the same, 0.9. Probably I'm sure, you know, they might tell you the health of the glow plug, but we know that those two that are reading open circuit there are definitely bad. So if we come over to here, I'll show y'all. So right down in there, right there, that's a glow plug. That's number 1. Number 2 is right in there. Number 3. Number 4. See down in there? And then number 5. So come over here. I think it was 3 and 5 if I remember correctly. Yes, and I'm using a cheap Harbor Freight voltmeter. I keep it in my, it's kind of my travel tool bag that I normally carry in one of the vehicles. I keep it in there. I do have a better one, but I've got these all over the place because they're free, and I always use those coupons and get them. Make sure we get a good connection on the glow plug. You might have to scratch your lead into it if it's got some rust or corrosion on it. We got nothing on that one. And just to verify, you'll still see the one next to it, number 4. See, it's good. Go to number 5. And we got nothing. So we've got 2 bad glow plugs. So I'm going to pull those out like I said, the proper way would be to replace all of them, go in there with a reamer, clean them out. But I'm not going to ream them this time. Well, maybe if they feel tight. I don't have a reamer, but I might would do a drill bit through it. There's just not a lot of room. I don't know if I could fit a normal drill bit in there. The reamer's a little shorter than a drill bit. So probably what I'll do is just get this thing, put these two glow plugs in it. We'll get it where it's working. And then we will eventually plan on buying a brand new set of glow plugs, and I'll get a reamer and I'll pull all of them out, ream all of them, put a whole new set of glow plugs in it, and then we'll be good for probably a few years. So, but for now, we're just going to put these two, since I already have them and they test to be good glow plugs, we're going to put these two in there, and hopefully we will get the glow plug system all working correctly, and we'll get some good starts. So what we need to do, we need a little wrench, and I guess this is a good example on this one. So here, and this one's from a junkyard, I guess, they just clipped the wire and pulled it out, but we need to take this nut off, pull the wire off, and then I think this is a 12 millimeter, and unscrew this out of the head. If it feels real tight, once you break it loose, and just work it back and forth. You don't want to strip these things out. I think soot and stuff can get built up on the back side of these. You don't want to break it off. Just work them real easily. Hopefully this thing still has some good quality glow plugs in it. Hopefully they haven't put some cheap ones. Some of the cheap ones, they swell, the tip swells on them, so then they're really stuck. But hopefully it's still got some good brand glow plugs, and we won't run into any issues like that. So let me get a nut on here. This is probably an 8 millimeter, and like I said, I think this is a 10 millimeter here. So we'll get a wrench on here, get that out, and then we'll get a wrench on here and get these glow plugs out. And this number 5 is going to be real difficult. It's right between of course it's between the block, the engine, and the oil filter canister, so it's not an easy fit. So let's see what we can do and get these out and get them replaced. I just have to show y'all something. How lazy can people be that they don't put a nut on these things? So they had these rubber pieces on there, and I thought they just put that on there to protect the ends of the glow plug, make sure nothing would get up against it and short it out. But no, that was holding the wire on. So we're going to retest this one here and make sure that I don't know how you can expect it to make contact like that. And this one was testing good, but who knows if it was actually making good enough, because there's a lot of current that flows to those glow plugs, and if you don't have a good connection there, they are not going to work. And so this one, even though it's testing good, the glow plug itself is good, we may not have had a good enough connection to make it work. So we're going to need to put new nuts on those. I think they're probably the same thread as the air cleaner housing nuts, and I got a couple of those. I don't remember how many I got. If you remember in one of my videos, I lost one of them, so I rethreaded a standard nut, and I at least got one at the junkyard. I don't remember if I got two. To find the Ziploc. I'll have to find that Ziploc. We got a mess of parts back here and tools, but I will find that Ziploc and see if I have a nut for it. But we've got one nut on that one glow plug, and so we're just short one nut, so we'll find one and put it on there. But that's pretty lazy. We're going to retest this glow plug. It's got some rust on it, so I might get a little piece of sandpaper and clean that up a little bit, and we'll test it again and see if it's still a bad glow plug.